A new ABC News podcast is shedding light on the 2016 disappearance of a New Jersey teen. Bridge of Lies follows the investigation after 19-year-old Sarah Stern's car was found abandoned near a bridge overlooking the Shark River. And what authorities initially believed to be a suicide soon unraveled into a homicide investigation with a surprising personal twist.
What happened to Sarah Stern?
911, where's the emergency? There's a car that's abandoned. It's off to the side of the road.
People were shocked to learn that something like this could happen in their backyard.
We didn't know what to think. It was a complete shock.
You just never know. You never know who your friends are. It's kind of scary.
Diabolical, the whole thing.
The podcast features audio of interviews with investigators, 911 calls, and a police sting operation that helped put Sarah's murderer behind bars. And host Juju Chang is here to tell us more about it. Juju, thanks for being here and congratulations.
My pleasure. Always happy to be with you, Diane.
So this is your podcasting debut. What drew you to this story? What made this one say, okay, this one I'm going to do?
Well, you heard it right there. It had all the elements. It starts with just a mystery, a car abandoned on a bridge. But pretty soon, investigators start asking a lot of questions. Well, did she jump? Did she run away to Canada? Well, actually, maybe something more sinister was underway. And I think investigators quickly started putting pieces together. And you realize it's all about old friendships and greed and betrayal and who can you trust and all of the elements of a great mystery.
Sarah's murderer ended up being one of her childhood friends.
Yes.
What stuck out to you as you followed that path from police first thinking this was a suicide to then realizing it's a homicide and then realizing, oh, this was someone really close to her?
Absolutely. Well, the police think it's a homicide for good reason. That's what the killers wanted, right? They left her car abandoned on the side of the bridge.
They wanted to make it look like a suicide.
Exactly. And they even spoke to investigators and said, you know, her mother died and she was really depressed and she talked about self-harm and she talked about all these things to make it seem like maybe she was depressed again and she did it. But then quickly you realize when her mother died, her mother had left her a secret stash of cash, which then the plot thickens and there's a motive. And would somebody have wanted to harm her for that? And then one friend turns up months later and says, you know what, I think he did it. And so he's willing to go undercover. And that is the audio, I think, at the center of it. It's a heart-stopping sting operation where the guy getting in the car is like, well, if I think this guy's capable of murder, is he going to murder me? Do you know? And so that restores, honestly, your faith in humanity, but all of it plays out on audio, and that is what makes a really rich narrative podcast tale.
What do you hope people take away from this podcast, and what do you think they're going to learn about this case, even if they had some familiarity with it before?
I mean, I do think that you get deeper into the investigators' thinking and how meticulous they are about, you know, chasing down every lead. There was a lead that maybe she ran off to Canada. She had these friends in Canada, and they chased down every investigative path. But what they come down to is this ultimate betrayal of a childhood friend. And you start to examine, like, wow, who can you trust around you? And then you realize, again, this informant steps up and does the right thing. And you realize also Sarah Stern was a lovely 19-year-old woman. She had a promising life in front of her, everything to live for. And we get to bring her to life. And she was a great art student and she had a lot of real friends. But sadly, she trusted a few who weren't really her friends.
And Juju, ABC News did report on this story when it happened, but the audio in this podcast, it's hard to overstress how compelling it is.
Absolutely. And that is, look, it's the elements of a great investigation have a lot of that. The 911 tapes, right? The interrogation tapes, all of the police interviews that are happening now with body-worn cameras. So much of that investigative piecing together is right there in your ears. But honestly, our team at ABC Audio is so amazing. They added what's called sound design. And so my voice is one thing, but they add layers of audio to it, interesting tones and really interesting, you know, natural sound. And it brings together a rich, you know, sort of podcasting experience. It's great.
All right. Juju Chang, thank you. Great to see you.
Great to see you, always.
Bridge of Lies premieres today wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes drop on Tuesdays.